These clowns in power, they just don't get it, do they? One of the very first acts of the Albanese government was to cancel the rule that local councils had to hold their citizenship ceremonies on Australia Day. Instead, the Prime Minister allowed them to shunt around the National Day inside a 3-day window. And when he did that, of course, some 80 councils across the country, including about a third of those in Victoria, Australia's capital of woke, duly made the move, citing Indigenous sensitivities, despite the fact that the majority of us love our country and support our National Day, including, I might add, many Indigenous people. It was a typical Albanese political ploy. Say that you're personally in favour of Australia Day, but allow your Green left allies to grandstand about it being Invasion Day. Even though none of us can change history, and whatever mistakes we might have made as a nation, British settlement has brought us democracy, the rule of law, minority rights, rights for women, and technological advances to Aboriginal societies that had hardly changed in tens of thousands of years. So for a country that's as free and as fair as any on earth to be lukewarm about celebrating its National Day, well, I reckon it's madness. But that's been the game plan of the left. Any wonder the migrants who vote with their feet to live here think that we've lost the plot? Because, as I've said before and I'll say again, they know as I know as you know, to call Australia home is well and truly to have won the lottery of life. So good on Peter Dutton for declaring that should the coalition win the looming election, he'll once more make it mandatory for councils to hold citizenship ceremonies on our National Day.
Would we reinstate the requirement for councils to hold citizenship ceremonies on Australia Day? You bet. It'll be done in the first 100 days.
As you know, one of the biggest outcomes from the Voice vote, as well as knocking off a truly bad and racist proposal, has been the willingness of so many once quiet Australians to reclaim their country. Polling from the IPA shows that support for Australia Day is rising, not falling. 69% of Australians agreeing with the statement that Australia Day should be celebrated on January 26, including 52% now of young people, and that's up 10 percentage points on last year. And almost 90% of those surveyed declare that they are proud to be Australian. But that hasn't stopped the usual arrogant and out-of-touch local government poobahs saying that they'll only celebrate Australia Day if the federal government wants to pay them to do so, which of course comes down to you, the taxpayer, paying more through the nose yet again. I mean, give me a break. These councils need no federal incentive to mark the end of Ramadan, do they? They're happy enough to run events in NIDOC Week and celebrate Pride Month, to pay a lot of money to drag queens to read to kids in council libraries. But now they say they'll only mark Australia Day if they're paid. I mean, come on. Local Government Association President Matt Burnett reportedly said that councils didn't hold events on January 26 for a range of reasons, he said, including extreme heat and public holiday staff costs. I mean, seriously, if heat's a reason to avoid activity, well, nothing had happened anywhere in January. And if extra costs are a problem, nothing would ever happen on a public holiday because we have, across the board, penalty loadings. Adelaide Lord Mayor Jane Lomax-Smith has also said that her council would comply if ordered to, but that she'd expect the federal government to compensate councils for the extra costs. Spoken like the former state Labor politician she was before she jumped onto the gravy train that's local government. Honestly, what is the point of local governments if they can't collect the rubbish, they can't fix the roads, and they can't organise community events without someone else paying for them? Perhaps if local councils closed down their diversity, equity and inclusion departments, if they stopped weighing in on federal concerns like refugee policy and climate change, they'd have all money in the kick to do what they should on Australia Day and hold the events that Australians clearly want. The opposition leader is right. Anthony Albanese only changed the rules because deep down, he's still the student activist who thinks Australia Day is something to be ashamed of. Well, I reckon it's about time we got ourselves a leader who believes in his country as much as we do.